Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how to run amp wire down through a 2010 Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Depending on what size wire you're going to be using, we've got the 8 gauge, which is the smaller one right here. We've got 4 gauge, which is the next size up, and you've got 0 gauge right here as well. If you're running 8 gauge through, start at the positive terminal, make sure the negative is disconnected, run it across the firewall right here, right across the engine bay. Once you get to these computers, down there's a rubber garment that the hood pop uses to run through to pop your hood. So you got your lever right here, and then once you go down in here, you see that hole. If you follow that wire back, you'll be able to see the garment I'm talking about. And once you do that, you can cut a hole through it, run your wire through, take off your kick panel, your floorboard, and then run it up under the carpet to the driver's seat, back to the back. If you're using larger wire, maybe 4 gauge or 0 gauge, there's a little bit more invasive way you can do it. It takes a little bit more time, but you can also make it look clean. First thing you're going to do is remove your glove box. Once you remove your glove box, the easiest way to do it, take off the side panel that's going to be right here. There's 2 Phillips screws right here and here, and 3 Phillips screws here, here, and here. Then on top of that, there's 3 bolts you have to remove. They're 10 millimeters. There's one here, and one right here. Once you do that, the glove box comes out, and then you can look up, kind of see where I have my wire right there under the carpet. I'll show you how to get to it from the engine bay. So right next to your battery right here, you've got this circular piece of plastic. It's what they use to protect the wires that run your AC. There's a 10 millimeter bolt right there, and then on the other side. Take those off. This will pop out. Then there's a rubber piece inside. You can drill a hole through this plastic piece, cut a hole through the rubber, and it'll run straight down to the passenger side floorboard. Once you do that, you run it through, take off the kick panel again, floorboard, run it back under the carpet, straight to the back. Now when you're running your ground wire, a couple easy places you can do it. If you want to take off the side panels, all these bolts right here are bare metal. They're going to have great contact you can use. If you don't want to spend all that time taking off the panels, you can also go back here, lift up the carpet, lift up the foam, and there's a bolt right there you can use. You're going to take that off, remove this plastic, pry it up a little bit, sand down any paint that's on the metal so you get a good contact when you use an O-ring or a circle ring on your wire. Once you put the circle ring on, put it underneath that plastic, put the plastic back on, put the bolt back in, tighten it down so it gets a good contact. You can run it up through the carpet, up on any side, anywhere that you can make it look clean. And then for an amp wire, if you just have the stock deck, if you don't have an aftermarket deck, you can hook it up to your ignition, or another way to do it, it's not really the best, you can run a wire straight from the power and loop it straight into the remote wire on the amp. That's not the safest way to do it because your amp will never turn off, but if you're just looking for a quick way to get it in and you're losing time, that's one way you can do it. If not, if you want to do a little bit more work to make sure you do it right the first time, you can tap into your ignition. So when your car turns on, the amp will as well. If you have an aftermarket deck, they're fairly easy to install. You take this piece off here, this piece off here. Once you take this piece off, it's going to expose a bolt here and a bolt here. Take those out, and then this faceplate comes off, and you can just put a new deck in it. Once you have a new deck, most decks come with a blue wire, which is going to be the amp turn-on switch. You tap into that, run it down through the floorboard, back to the carpet, just like you did your power wire, straight into the amp. That way, anytime your deck turns on, the amp is on. Anytime your deck turns off, the amp is off. That's going to be the fastest way, easiest way to run wire to an amp in a 2010 Genesis Coupe. Check out my other videos later on how to properly tune subs and how to make a beauty plate on the back with LEDs if you want to kind of make it look like a show car, not just something to drive around every day.